Hi, everyone, and welcome to my first webinar, Introduction to Freelance Health Writing. I'm so excited to have you guys. Um, Sorry that I look like a pixelated, like 1990s video game. My other computer wasn't working, so I had to make do with this one, but you won't see my face for long. So just a couple of housekeeping things first. I have a time limit of 40 minutes, so I'm going to be moving this right along. I decided to re-record this because I was having more tech issues with the first one. So if this looks a little bit different, that's why, but the content should be completely the same. So make sure you have a pen and paper ready for this because after the introductions, I'll be going through a ton of valuable content. I know your time is so valuable, and I just want to make sure that this webinar is jam-packed of information for you guys. So thank you so much for signing up for my newsletter and being a part of this webinar. So let me get going. Okay, one second. Cool. All right. So introduction to freelance writing. We'll be going over what it is, how to do it, tips for how to do it, who I am, and what I've been doing. So my name is Janelle Borowski. I'm a master's level educated nurse, and I own Willow Bark Health Writing. I've been a freelance writer for about 4 or 5 years now, and I love it. So that's me. So I've spent about 6 years at the bedside, and I decided that it wasn't quite for me. That hectic lifestyle of being at the bedside, not really knowing what you're gonna get and what your day is gonna look like. I just found that that wasn't really conducive for my mental health. So I decided to see if I could find a way out. So in my journeys, I found freelance health writing, and I haven't looked back. So I'm also an avid traveler. That's me in Utah, in Mexico, and then skiing in, I think that was Austria this year. And one thing I love about freelance writing is the freedom to do exactly what I want when I want. So I didn't have to ask anyone for permission for time off or count my sick days or my vacation days to take these. I just kind of let my clients know, hey, I'll be out of town from these dates. Communication will be sparse. I'll pick up when I get back. Sometimes I give them the option of giving me extra work ahead of the time. I was so nervous when I started doing this. No one's ever had a problem with it. So just to have that burden off of me of counting those vacation time and trying to find coverage for those shifts really helped with my mental health, and it helped me find a better work-life balance where I could do the things that I love to do. I feel like I'm not living to work. I like work and then I get to like live my life outside of that, which is something that I never really found at the bedside or any other job really. So that's a little bit about me. So what is freelancing? To be honest, I had no idea what freelancing was when I started doing it. So that's why I put this definition up here. So it's working for different companies at different times instead of being permanently employed by a single company. So the only caveat with that is that you're responsible for your own benefits, but you get to set your own rates. You're your own boss. You find your own clients, and you decide what type of work you want and what type of work you don't want. So you do have to find your own benefits and your own stable income, but it comes with total freedom besides that. So I found that that trade-off was great for me. One thing to remember is that you're not just the writer, you're the entire company. So you're keeping track of payments, you're the marketer, and stuff like that. So there is a lot that goes on behind it, but once you get used to it and you have a system in place, it's really not that bad. Okay. And the other thing I really liked about freelance health writing is it let me do what nursing never did, which was like work from home. And I don't love working from home all the time. So I do keep a bedside position part time where I like to still go in and do hands on care. But it really opened me up to a better mindset when I go into my bedside job now, and it's not like my main income. Now I kind of think as writing as my main income, and my bedside role is actually like my side hustle. And it really takes the mental health burden off of me. knowing that I can walk away at any time and I'll be financially stable. So you don't have to do freelance writing full time. You can do it part time. It could be a side hustle. You could layer your job, whatever you want, which is why I love freelancing too. It really is whatever you need and whatever you want it to be. Whatever you decide to put into it is what you get out of it. So it provided me that financial and lifestyle freedom to be a much better nurse at the bedside and also be a much happier person in my life and to the people in my life. I know it got to the point where I was dreading going into work, the long shifts, the unsafe ratios, not knowing what you're going to get, clashing with coworkers, or just feeling that really burnt out, hopeless, helpless feeling that just hits you to your core. And that's why I decided to turn to freelancing. So if you're there, you're not alone. I feel like a lot of nurses get to that point, especially with the crazy burnout rates from COVID. You're definitely not alone. Okay. So, how did I get started? I like saying this because it really is everyone's individual journey, and no one is going to have the same type of, I guess, like origin story. That's what I call it. So, I actually got my first paid writing job off of Reddit, and I started as a reptile writer. So, that had absolutely nothing to do with nursing. And I didn't seek out that job. I just found a post on a reptile subreddit that was like, hey, does anyone want to get paid to write about reptiles? And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, like absolutely sign me up. I love reptiles and I love making side hustles. So it kind of started from there. My rate was wicked low. I forget exactly what it was. I think it might have been like $60 for maybe 1,000 words or like 1,500 words, which is a really low rate to start off, but it really showed me the possibility of working for myself and that I could get paid to write. So that was also my first retainer client right off the bat. So I worked with them for about a year. I got a year of content writing with them. And then I actually decided that this was like the coolest thing ever. I loved writing, I loved learning, and I loved researching. So, how can I kind of keep on doing this but get paid more than what I was getting paid? And I decided to try and see if my like educational background could get me farther than writing about reptiles. It turns out it could get me so much farther. Um, so after this, my next job was as a curriculum writer that I actually found off of, I think it was Indeed. Yeah, it was Indeed. And I didn't have a robust portfolio, I guess. It was literally just content writing about reptiles. But the job listing said that you had to have like 1 year of content writing, which I technically did about reptiles. You had to work as a nurse, which I was, and you also had to have a background as an educator, which I did. So I applied and they hired me to be a curriculum writer. So the whole moral of that story is you never know when you're going to get your first break and what it's going to lead to. So don't get too concerned about where you start. It's more important about where you end up and making those goals and making that like lateral movement to meet those goals and figure out where you want to be. So if you don't know your niche right away, that's fine. I definitely didn't. You can switch around. I have not written a reptile article in like 3 years, longer than that actually. But if I didn't take that job, I probably wouldn't be a writer because I wouldn't have known that it was an option and I wouldn't have that like year of content writing behind me. So my biggest advice is get your foot in the door any way you can. Any way that you can find a way to write, do it, and then leverage that to get your next client and your next client and your next client until you're making what you want and you're writing what you want. So that's me with my lizard. And that was my first author bio. Yeah. Okay, so who have I worked with? It's been all uphill from reptiles. I've written for Health Grades, Practical Neurology, Study.com, Haymarket, Health News, Alphanumerics. I just got hired on for Hello Clue, working on a medical device company. And then I don't have listed here all of like the smaller projects that I've worked on with like doctors and like smaller, I guess, like blogs and names that you wouldn't quite recognize. So I've done a lot over the years, and it just shows you that no one really cared that I started off as a reptile writer. They just cared that I had the experience and that I understood how to research and put an article together and where to go from there. So I'm continuously looking for newer clients, higher paying clients, and almost all of my clients are on retainers now, which is awesome. So you can definitely get there too. Oops. Okay, how do I find clients? This is my number one question I'm asked all the time. And I think it really changes based on like what I'm doing, where I'm getting like clients, which I know is like kind of a confusing sentence to say. But if I find that I'm getting more clients through cold outreach, I actually lean into cold outreach because it means I'm doing something right. If I find that I'm starting to snowball in Upwork, I start to put more effort into Upwork because same thing. It means I'm doing something right. Sometimes I don't exactly know what it is I'm doing, but the favor is with me and I'm just going with it. Sometimes I can start to pinpoint what works better with some clients on some platforms versus others. And then sometimes it's just like your charisma, it's how you talk, it's your educational background or your working background or even your portfolio. So once again, this is going to be really individualized for every person and it even changes for me. Right now, all of my leads are inbound organic. So that means I haven't really found a lead myself in close to like 4 months, which has been so nice because I hear that a lot. How do you find leads? Am I going to get leads? Is this a sustainable income? Is it going to be like this forever where you're just doing so much cold outreach? And the answer is that like Seesaw definitely balances out with time. So I definitely started to round the corner and it's a really good feeling that I can now do primarily writing. I'm still doing administration stuff, but I'm not doing as much outreach for my clients, which is huge. So before I was getting all inbound clients, which means that they message me or they find me or they're on my website and they send me a message that says, hey, I have this project. Here's my budget. Can you take it on? And I say yes or no. These are the ways I found my clients. So LinkedIn is huge, just connecting, using their job board, looking at other people's feeds, just being an authentic presence on there. Cold emailing, I did for a really long time at first. You do have to put a little bit of upfront effort to find the email addresses, but I found a lot of really big retainer clients that way. So I definitely do recommend it. I recommend making them personalized so you don't sound like a robot to everyone. That's huge. No one wants to be spammed. Always remember that. At the end of every LinkedIn profile, every email, there's a real human being and they want to be treated like that. So don't just robotically send the same email to every single person because it's probably not going to be that effective. Job boards for freelancers. This is a huge one. There's a lot of like email subscriptions. There's a lot of like job boards that you can pay a small monthly amount, like 10, 15, $5, $25, something like that. And you get access to their applications. Upwork is a big one. I get a lot of clients on Upwork. Upwork is a little bit harder for newer freelancers because you kind of like snowball once you start getting clients. You have that social proof. Once you start getting clients on Upwork, other people can see your ratings and other people can actually see how much money you've made on Upwork. So it kind of compounds on itself. But when you're starting off, it's actually really hard to like get that ball rolling. So if you're seeing a little bit of pushback with Upwork and you're not really getting those clients, that's okay. It's actually kind of hard for a first-time person to get clients on Upwork. It took me a little bit, so no worries. It'll come with time. Word of mouth referrals, talking to other freelancers, talking to editors, that type of thing. That's a huge one. Inbound lead through my website. People just fill out my contact form. I send them a client brief and then we get the ball rolling. Indeed, I have found a couple of, I think two of my retainer clients when I was starting out was just through a link, an Indeed post, like a job application through Indeed. So I definitely recommend you still going the traditional way. And then checking in with previous clients and seeing if they need work. So I use a combination of these at all times. Well, not anymore, but I did to kind of pivot, be dynamic, and like see what works and what doesn't work. So that's that. Oop, so it's kind of cut off at the top, but it says what type of writing can you do as a nurse or a healthcare professional? I use the word nurse, but that's just because I am a nurse. And if you're not a nurse, you are so welcome to this freelancing webinar still. It's just that's where my mouth goes. A lot of this is transferable to other niches, and a lot of this you don't have to be a healthcare professional, but you definitely have an edge up if you are a classically trained healthcare professional, especially if you worked at the bedside. Okay, so the sky's the limit with freelance writing. You could literally do anything. So here are the most common popular deliverables. You can focus even further by deciding to take on one topic in a certain type of deliverable. So some people only write CEUs about mental health, others ghost write books for homeopathic physicians. It's really whatever you want to do. There really isn't a limit for what you can write. I recommend that you try new deliverables to see what worked. I thought that I would hate writing NCLEX questions. I thought they were going to be like the most boring thing known to man. And I actually absolutely loved it. And it's one of my favorite deliverables to write. So this is not an exhausted list. Pretty much anything that you have seen that relates to health needs to be written by someone. And it might as well be written by you who has the experience, has the education, and has the background. You're a field expert. So why wouldn't you write these? It just makes common sense. Some of the things that I was surprised about were like manuals for like using devices, like using like kangaroo machines in a hospital. Someone had to write that. That was like the aha moment where I was like, oh my gosh, literally anything I've ever read needs to be written by someone. So it shows that there's a huge client base out here. You just need to tap into it. And there is so much work for everyone. Like there is more than enough work to go around. And it kind of goes back to, is this a sustainable business? Is this a sustainable lifestyle? Can I leave the bedside if I want and dive headfirst into this? You totally can. There is more than enough room for everyone. So that is the slide. And can you make a full-time living with freelance writing? We've gone over this a couple of times. Absolutely. So I was a freelance writer part-time for a couple of years. I was like a little bit nervous to fully go in, and I also didn't really know what I was doing. I never took a course, which is why I actually made a course, because I was like, ooh, people should probably have more guidance than I had, because it probably would take them like half the time to get where I am now if they had someone helping them along the way. But the first year that I went full time, I matched my salary, and I hit another couple of big milestones. I was able to save the down payment, my half for the house. So that was a huge one. So there is a lot of money in it. I'm not saying it's a get rich quick type of scheme, because you definitely do have to put the work, the time, and the energy into it. But there are really high paying deliverables. There are some deliverables that you can write, and it's a couple $1,000s for it. Not every deliverable is like that. So I just want to stress that this isn't a get rich quick scheme, but I do want to let you know that it is a sustainable, stable way to make a salary if you do want to leave the bedside full time, or you can use it just to supplement your income. For a while, I was writing, I think like one blog post a week for $250. And so in a month, I was making $1,000 extra just writing one blog post a week. So, I mean, that's a big sizable amount. And you can go further into that. You could do less, whatever you want. So that's once again why I love freelance writing. It's not a one size fits all, and you're not locked in and you're not committed to it. So you can do whatever you want to do with this, and you can even test the waters for a couple of years like I did first and see if you even like it. Okay. So this one is stacked. I hope you have your pen and papers ready, because these are my general tips for freelance writing. And sorry that the header is cut off. So we're going to go through this. We're going to go through it a little bit quickly because it's a lot here. But I want to make sure that you came out with some really good, actionable, clear tips and things that you can put into practice like immediately. So the first one is LinkedIn is an absolute gold mine. Make sure you're using it frequently. Make sure you're using it correctly. Don't build animosity. Make authentic connections on there. Look for leads. find your tribe, and don't struggle alone. That's the next one. Connect with experienced writers who can help. And that goes back into LinkedIn. So you most likely found me on LinkedIn, which is awesome. Thank you and welcome. It kind of goes back to that. I learned a lot from people that were a couple of years ahead of me. Not so far ahead that they didn't remember the struggles of newer writers, but just the perfect amount that they remembered their mistakes and had recommendations for others to not make the same mistakes. This is like my favorite motto: raise your rates with every new client and at least once a year. Just do it. The worst they can say is no, and then you know. But I've been so pleasantly surprised so many times where I just throw out a number and they say, yeah. Sometimes there's some pushback, and I have accepted lower rates as a way to get like more experience in a certain niche. Like I said, you're not gonna, or you may not. Some people do make a lot of money right away. I definitely was not one of those people, but you can, if you know where to look. But raising your rates with every new client gives yourself that kind of like energy boost to keep going. And I always say, make your rate something that you're going to be excited to write about. Like, never take a rate and be like, oh my gosh, I am not looking forward to writing this. You're your own boss now. You don't have to be unhappy. Make yourself happy. If you're completely booked up with clients and someone asks you to write a new deliverable, raise your rate. You have nothing to lose. If you have a bad feeling about a client, go with your gut. Unfortunately, there are scammers out there. I think they're pretty easy to spot. And then other times there are just disorganized clients that may not serve you in the best way. That doesn't mean that they're bad people or that they're out to get you or that they're scammers. Sometimes they're just genuinely not ready to work with a freelancer. Other times they're scatterbrained and they don't quite know what they want, or they don't know the proper etiquette. But either way, you're your own boss now and you don't have to deal with a person that you don't want to deal with. So before you sign your contract, before you do any of that jazz, if you have a bad feeling, you can walk away. You can also ask them a bunch of questions to clarify that bad feeling. Don't feel bad about doing that. You're your own boss. No one expects you to sacrifice your happiness for this new job. That's what the bedside is for. You get to be happy now, you get to be autonomous, and you get to be your own company. The next one is use Grammarly and Hemingway. So these are two free artificial intelligence editing apps. I like both of them, and I use both of them as like rounds of edits. They catch things that like Google Docs and Microsoft Word don't catch. They'll check for active voice, passive voice. They'll also check for classic like spelling errors, and then they'll tell you what sentences are like hard to read, and you can kind of tweak them and get them to a more readable level, I guess. There are also free versions of these. I use the free versions. I like them. I haven't upgraded yet. You do have to do a little bit more work with the free versions. You have to play around with the words to figure out how to make it more readable, but I think that honestly makes you a stronger writer, and I think it benefits myself in the long run. And my hope is that I'll be using these less because of that extra step of having to critically think every time I edit. I get a lot of questions about writer's block. So what I do is I switch in between tasks to help. So if I'm just like so dragging, like yesterday, it took me like 4 days to write this one blog on vitamins. And I don't know why. There's no reason. Like, I've written more dull topics to me before, but it was almost like writer's block was just hitting me. So I would switch in between tasks. I would work on a different article, and then I do the outline for the vitamin article. And then I would send in invoices for a different client that I had, and then I'd come back to the vitamin article. And just having the chance to like step away and come back like really helped me reframe my mindset and come back fresh-eyed. I also made sure to just kind of write through it. My first rough draft was like so bad, like the worst thing I've written in a really long time, and I really needed to heavily edit it, but it was better than not having anything. Take breaks, take walks, make sure you're not hungry, make sure you're not tired, make sure you're centered, make sure you're ready to write. All those things can contribute to writer's block. So just check in with yourself. You're your own boss. You can take breaks when you want. You can start writing when you want. Feel it out. Okay. I get a lot of questions on what to do when you're overwhelmed because it is a big difference. But most of us have worked in healthcare. Most of us know how to prioritize, and most of us have felt overwhelmed before. So this shouldn't be too different than working on a busy floor. But it's just like a different type of overwhelm. So I understand why it's like a little bit different. So when I'm overwhelmed, I make a to-do list and put them in order of prioritization. I also take deep breaths. I just calm myself down. There's no reason I need to be anxious and stressed and like clenching my jaw. I will get everything done. And a lot of the times my to-do list looks really long, but it's just like a bunch of little tasks that I can like check off really quickly. So building that momentum like really helps. And it also helps like your mental health to be able to just like check something off and be like, I did that right now. So that definitely compounds on itself and it helps you beat like that overwhelmed feeling of like your head spinning around. You have so much to do. And that also goes away when you're a more established freelancer. It's a lot at first because you're setting yourself up for success. But once you're set up, the success comes a lot easier. So set up an email just for freelance writing. I think that's so important. Like, don't use like, I don't know, my middle school one was Monkeys Girl. Like, don't use Monkeys Girl. Um, use like one that you'll be proud to send to people, and also use one that is just for freelance writing so that you're not getting spam in there. You're not getting personal emails in there. You know that when that alert goes off on your phone, you have that business mindset and you know that you're going into it as like a freelance writer and a boss. It really helps me compartmentalize from my other roles in my life. Ooh, this is a big one. Don't pitch slap people. So I get this all the time. And I got a lot of questions on the live thing about what a pitch slap is. So a pitch slap is extremely rude. And it's pretty common with some people. And it's when you message someone like right away and you're like, hey Janelle, do you have work for me? And like, I don't know you. I have no idea who you are. I don't know if you're a good writer. I don't know if you're a bad writer. I don't know if you have a portfolio. Like, why would I give you work? I have no idea who you are. I'm risking my business and my reputation and my leads and my clients by giving this person that I've never even spoken to a job. So to put it into perspective, everyone has to find their own leads. That's a part of being a freelance writer. So other examples of pitch slapping are, hey, Janelle, can you edit this? Hey, Janelle, do you have any work for me? Hey, Janelle, do you have any leads? Hey, Janelle, do you have a contact at Health Grades? All of that type of stuff. Never forget that we are real people at the end of the day. And it's way better just to authentically connect with people. I do give out leads to people that I'm friends with on LinkedIn and that I have an authentic connection with, but I won't give out leads to people that send me a connection request without a note. And then their first thing is, hey, I'm an SEO expert. Do you have work for me? No, sir, I do not. So that is pitch slapping. And it's kind of well known in the freelance world, and it would be a much more polite place if people would just authentically get to know you and instead of making it like a transaction, you know what I mean? Because then you just feel like you're kind of a chess piece and you're just being used. Like that person messaging you doesn't really want to connect with you. They just want to make money off of you. And then if that's how you're going into it, unfortunately, it's going to be really ineffective. So that's pitch slapping, just trying to save you there because people hate that. All right. Focus on marketing and building your brand on LinkedIn and your website. That'll bring you organic leads. This one is pretty important to me. Remain at the bedside at least part-time until you steady your income flow. I did that for about 2 years, and I'm still at the bedside part-time. I feel like I could have left earlier, but I was really nervous. Oh, we're ending in 10 minutes. Freelancing is a little bit hard where you're getting into that cycle of feast, famine, and you're trying to figure it out. So if you stay at the bedside at least part-time, then you have a supplemental income while you figure it out. And then you'll be a lot less anxious, a lot more comfortable with your new role, and you can figure things out with like less financial penalty. And this last one is about imposter syndrome. So never forget that as a healthcare professional, you're a medical expert. Market yourself as so. You are not, there is no imposters here. Like, you have put years at the bedside, you have years of clinical experience, and you have an educational background to back that up. So many people are going to be jazzed that you are a healthcare professional that can write. You have a unique perspective that no one else has, and like, it's like an amazing unicorn. Like, people are going to be so excited to hear from you. So don't let imposter syndrome, chatter in your ear or get yourself down. You can do this. You are valid, and people want you in this space. Google is ranking articles higher when they're written by experts, and guess what? You're an expert. So it feeds into what editors want, and it also feeds into what you want, which is financial freedom and freedom of lifestyle and all of that other jazz. Okay, so who am I and what do I offer? So I have the super fantabulous writing course, which is the nickname for the Introduction to Freelance writing course. The nickname is just so much fancier for me. It's a lot happier. I try and be a happy person. So this course is jam-packed. It has over 220 pages, something like 30 templates, 10 modules. We go over how to get clients, how to build a portfolio, your mental health, what to do when you're loneliness, more tips on writer's block. We go over LinkedIn. I have cold email pitches. I have automations to help you stay organized. I go over exactly how to become a freelance writer, the freelance cycle, how to beat feast and famine cycles, all my tips and tricks, so much more than I could even say here. So this is jam-packed. I tried to make this the course that I wish I had. I did take one course and I was woefully disappointed to learn that it was 40 pages, and it really should have been like an ebook instead of what they were marketing it as. So I kind of wanted to make this the course that I should have bought. 220 pages sounds like a lot, but at the end of every section, I have a key takeaway bullets for people that just want to skim. It's very organized, very readable. And then I have a conclusion too. So if you're a skimmer, just scroll all the way down and I'll give you the main points. It also has a homework section for every single section to make sure that you know exactly what to do and you're keeping up with it. And by the end of it, you're going to be a freelance writer. And not only are you going to be a freelance writer, you're going to be a successful freelance writer. We go over all the different types of deliverables. So I find a lot of freelance writing courses are just for blog writing. That's not the only type of writing you can do, though. So we go over regulatory, we go over medical affairs, we go over curriculum, academic, all of that stuff. We go over what these deliverables generally look like, what the general pay scale can be, and what characteristics may fit some people better. So I never knew what these were until I signed a contract, and then I was locked in, and then I was writing them. Some of them suited me better than others. So this is your chance to really like dip your toes in and see if you want to do a longer deliverable, a shorter deliverable, what the research is, what the time requirement is, what type of like mind is best suited, generally speaking. So I think that's a huge one. I also have a frequently asked questions section for skimmables, resources for more learning, like books and everything. So yeah, jam-packed. I'm also doing a promotion for a coupon. So if you're interested in the coupon, just send me an email. You can just reply right back because you got this through the newsletter and I can send it to you. All I ask back is for a testimonial. Yeah, so I can send you the details on that. So I also offer a la carte mentor sessions through Zoom and email for people that have a specific problem that's unique to them and they're not quite sure how to get around it. We can problem solve. So I send you a questionnaire to figure out exactly what you need help with so we can hit the ground running during the session. So it's a 1-hour session. It comes with 1 week of email follow-up. So if a question pops up after and you're like, oh man, like this sparked this other question, I wish I asked for that, you get that follow-up through email. And then that also turns into a 4-week mentorship program or an 8-week mentorship program. So the a la carte is if you have like one problem that you need help with. The 4-week and the 8-week is if you need more support and you have this roadblock and you're not quite sure how to deal with it. I'm your girl. I can help you. We can figure this out. Some people just need a little bit more help, and that's okay. Freelancing can be really isolating, so I'm more than happy to run through it with you. And that's 1 hour of like Zooming a week, as long as like our times match up. And then the email for a week after. I also offer group Zoom sessions for people that are on a budget and that want to meet their peers, learn from their peers, and also hear what struggles they're going through and bounce ideas off of others. That's really great for this type of people. I also offer guest blogging and portfolio help for people that want to know what it's like to work with an editor and they're not quite sure. They want to know what a style guide is. They need help with SEO. They want to know what it's like to edit, and what it's like to really work with your first like big client. So that's what that is. And you'll be published on my blog. The other thing, the Super Fantabulous Writing course also comes with access to my free private LinkedIn community where I'll be giving leads when I get them, advice when I get them, and you also have access to me at any time. And you can build a group of peers. So you can shoot off quick questions for me through there and questions to your peers, and we can go. All right, so how can I help you? Getting clients, building a portfolio, explain the different types of writing, LinkedIn optimization, discovery calls. Oh my gosh, was anyone else terrified? I was so scared for my life for discovery calls. LinkedIn strategy, how you can get inbound leads straight to your inbox without doing a thing, because that's what happens to me now. Organizational strategies, how to network with others, and how to scale, how to grow your business, how to make this a lasting, sustainable lifestyle for you that meets your lifestyle needs. Okay.